proceeds from the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show support PBS Wisconsin programming. Your financial gift helps make this event possible. Thank you.
We are not going to talk about just thread today. We're going to talk, the whole purpose is success. How many of you have had frustrations when you're sewing? Does a thread fray, shred, break? It happens. It's frustrating. And it happens a lot. My job is to fix that. And I guarantee today, in 1 hour, we're going to solve 98% of any problem you will ever have with sewing. Is it the thread? Is it the needle? Is it the machine? We're going to talk about that. And we can solve 98% of your problems. So really, you're going to feel really good when you leave. Because I guarantee if you apply what you learn, you're going to be really happy. How many have been frustrated? What's the most finicky, we don't talk brands, but what's the most finicky, difficult to use, frustrating thread out there? Metallic, monofilament, those are the two I hear. Metallic and monofilament. I guarantee you can go home tonight and metallic will work on your machine with 3 simple steps. Here's an example. I'm in southern Utah, a beautiful place called St. George, Utah. And we have a fabric shop, we got our thread place, and about 2 months ago, a customer came into the shop and held up a thread and said, "Your thread is breaking." And it was our thread. I knew she had good thread. And I said, "What needle are you using?" The needle, she said, was the recommended needle. So A is good, the thread quality is good, B, the right needle, so I go to part C. I said, "I think I can fix this. It's probably has to do with the tension setting on your machine." Her hand goes up. "No, don't tell me to touch my tension. I won't do that." And I'm stuck. I felt like saying, "Well, I can commiserate with you or I can fix it, but I can't do both." And she walked out. I couldn't fix it. I can fix that. And we're going to tell you really, really simply how to do it. First step is going to be on the thread quality, because if you use good thread, you're really going to have a huge advantage. In fact, 50% of all problems with thread breaking, fraying, shredding, linting too much, is the quality of the thread. There is like a Rolls Royce. You got the Rolls Royce. Remember years ago in the 1980s, this car called the Yugo came out? They're not on the road. They lasted a year or two, the Yugo. Well, that's the range of threads. You have the Yugo and you have the Rolls Royce. Yes, you will pay more for a Rolls Royce. However, it's going to run forever, and it's going to be nice and fun. There's a big range in quality. As quilters, what is your favorite fiber type of thread to use? Why do quilters love cotton?
I don't know.
You don't know? Why? Tradition, yeah, tradition. Mom taught me. Grandma taught mom. What did they have in Grandma's day? That's all they had. So Grandma taught Mom we use cotton. Mom teaches me. We teach our kids. It's tradition. I started in this industry in 1998. My wife and I started a thread company, Superior Threads. Okay, that was our company. For 18 years, we had that company. We sold it in 2016, so it's been 9 years now. And we built that company chasing the king of the thread at that time. As we started in 1998, I knew very little about thread. I learned day to day, and we learned, but what I did learn is there's a company out there that people were saying, that's the high quality. That's the colors. They have the type of threads I like. Well, guess what the company was back then? YLI Threads. They were our big competitor when we started. And we chased them for the first few years. I think over time, we overtook and kind of went toward the top. And they were kind of coasting for a while. Well, after selling the company 9 years ago, I was bored. I have no hobbies. I just like to work. And so I wanted to jump back in because I like doing shows. I like writing newsletters. I like meeting customers. I don't like packing up for shows. I don't like setting up for shows. That's tough work. But I like working the shows. And I thought, should I start a new thread company or shall I buy an existing thread company? And I remembered YLI was the former king up there, really, really good. And I called the owner, and I said, "Jim, I want to get back in the industry. Have you ever thought of selling?" And he said, "Strange that you would call." "Yes, I'm interested." I flew out to South Carolina. 30 minutes, we had a handshake deal. So in early 2023, I bought it. It took about a year to move the products to our house, to our place. moved it from South Carolina to Utah. And then it took a long more time. We added a lot more products. So now we're up and running, been going strong for now about a year, having a lot of fun. And I'm back on the road doing what I love. It's been about 8 years since I've been in Wisconsin. And this show is as strong as ever. It's a fun place. Okay, back to cotton thread. Why they love cotton thread is mostly tradition. Do you know anyone who pieces with polyester thread today? Look. They don't want to, hey, no, because they're going to get pounded down by the quilt place. Years ago, when I started in 1998, Paducah, the first year that a machine quilted thread took first place. Boy, that didn't go happy in the industry. That wasn't really good news, and it took years. Well, now everything is machine quilted almost. Well, so it is with piecing. If you piece a quilt with poly, what do they say? Don't piece with poly because it will what? It'll cut the fabric, right? Okay. The biggest myth in the quilt world is that polyester will cut your fabric. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. But first, we're going to go back to cotton thread. I love cotton thread. There's nothing wrong with cotton. There's high grade, low grade. Stick to high grade. You're going to have a great, great time. Have you heard of Egyptian cotton? Yes. Want to hear a little secret? There is 10 times more Egyptian cotton sold every year than is grown. That is a fact. In fact, the Egyptian Cotton Council, in their audit report, put out, we estimate that 85% of Egyptian cotton on the market is counterfeit. It's not Egyptian cotton. So, your bed sheets, your towels, your clothing, your thread, guess what? Chances are it isn't. But does it really matter? Is anyone here from Idaho? Has anyone been to Idaho? You know where Idaho is? Okay. What is Idaho famous for? Potatoes. Does it really matter? Yes or no? No? Who knows potatoes more than anyone else? McDonald's. McDonald's sells 9 million pounds of potatoes and French fries every day around the world. Every day around the world, 9 million pounds. And guess what potato they want? Yeah, they want Idaho potatoes. They like the Idaho russet. For some reason, the composition of the potato is perfect. The soil it grows in, the minerals, the water, the climate is perfect to grow a good potato. Maybe it's a cold season, the shorter growing season, longer, I don't know, shorter, I guess. Anyway, the growing season is perfect, and McDonald's wants the Idaho potato as the first choice. It makes a difference. So it is with Egyptian cotton. That's why so many companies will falsify the labels and say it's Egyptian cotton when it isn't, because they know somewhere between the cotton field, the cotton grower, that passes it on to somebody who buys the cotton bale. Oh, by the way, a bale of cotton, you've heard of a bale, right? That's not an industry word. You know what they call a bale of cotton? L-I-N-T. That's true. They sell it by the lint. Lint's a bad word to us. But lint is their word, is the industry word for a bale of cotton. So they'll sell it somebody will sell it, buy it from the farmer, and it goes to the first processors. They'll clean out the cotton, get the seeds out, get the debris out, and clean up the cotton thread. Next step, they spin it. They take these short fibers and spin it together into these fine threads. Then they'll twist the threads into the size of thread they want. Then they go to a process called mercerizing, a good thing. That's when they put the twisted thread in the solution, the fibers swell. So when it goes to the next stage, the dye stage, the dye penetrates it better. So it makes it's a better dye, and it actually strengthens the fibers. A mercerizing is a good thing. If the label does not say mercerized cotton, it is. It's automatic. They mercerize everything. Then it goes to the winding stage. So that cotton just changed hands 5 or 6 times. And everybody knows in the industry, if you flip a tag from a regular cotton and say, this is Egyptian cotton, your price doubled. Your profit doubled. The greed is strong in business, any business. It happens. Think of a used car salesman. They say things that aren't true. Well, so it is in the cotton world. 85+% of cotton grown is counterfeit. Does it matter? Just like the Idaho potato? Yes, it matters. The best cotton is grown on the Nile Delta. The sediment there The climate's great. The water is heavy, is fortified with minerals naturally. Everything is so perfect to grow a really nice cotton thread. That's why the Egyptian cotton really does matter. Can you tell by looking at it? No. Can you tell under a microscope? No. The only way to tell is do an expensive DNA test on the fibers. They can test the DNA back to the origin. That's the only way. So how do you tell? You really, really can't. But if you find a cotton thread that is strong, low lint, you love it, yeah, it's good. Have you heard of staples? Long staple? Long staple cotton? What's a staple? Steel. Yep, that's a man. A staple is the fiber in the cotton plant. You got this fluffy boll, and there's like 100,000 fibers in it. They have to take the fibers out, and they take these inch-long fibers, and they spin them together to make this long strand of thread. The longer the staple, the more frequent connections you're going to have. The standard thread in the world, probably, I don't know, 80% maybe, is short staple cotton. Have you ever seen a label that says short staple? No, they won't say that. Nothing to brag about. If the label says 100% cotton, it's short staple. They'll find something else to brag about, like the fancy word mercerized that nobody knows, but it's automatic, everything's mercerized. So the short staple, what they found out in Egypt, they can take it and somehow, I don't know how they turned it into a long staple, but now they have a long staple cotton. Actually developed in the U.S. in the 1800s. The U.S. developed a sea island cotton, like Georgia down southeast, and it had a long staple. Short is an inch, long staple, 1.25 inches. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but it's a 25% jump. That means many fewer connections, less bumps in the thread, smoother, less lint. It's going to be good. So the sea island cotton in the late 1800s became so popular, they started trading the seeds around the world. Somebody took a batch of seeds to Egypt, they planted them in Egypt, and wow, they even grew better in Egypt. That's why Egyptian cotton from the late 1800s is the cream of the crop. Over the years, they developed an extra long staple cotton. Now we go from an inch being short, extra long as 2 inches. That's a long, extra long staple. So now when you make the connections, you have maybe half as many connections as you spin it together. Smoother, less lint, fewer problems, stronger, better absorption. Good in every way. But every time you jump from a short to a long, 50% price up. Long to an extra long, 50% price up. If it matters, and if you can afford it, and if you really like quality, that's the way to go. The only way you can really tell is if you have a company that you trust. We know because we buy it directly from Egypt. Our factory will put the order in from Egypt. It is certified Egyptian cotton. It ships to the most expensive place in the world to manufacture. Guess where? Not here. Nope, Japan. Japan has the highest rent. They pay their people well. It's just the most expensive place in the world. But Japan, here's why. Over the years, people would say, why don't you do made in the USA? Why don't you do your thread here? There's 2 factories in the USA back in the 80s that were actually doing thread, and they're both in the east or the southeast, and we talked to them. I said, would you make our cotton thread for us? We would love to. Okay, here's what I want. I want Egyptian-grown cotton. We don't do that. Would you do that? No, we don't do that. I want extra long staple. We don't do that. So I can't. We can't have it made in the U.S. because the only factories that have the ability to manufacture and process and have everything, they won't do it for us. So we had to go to Japan, and here's Japan's answer. I want Egyptian-grown cotton. Okay, but you know it's going to cost you. I want extra long staple. You know that's going to cost you more. I want a really nice tight twist on it. Okay? I want you to do a lint reduction process to it. That's really going to cost you. And I said, that's okay, because I want the cream of the crop, and that's what they do. The lint reduction process is the final step before they wind it onto the spool. They take this it's been dyed on a big jumbo cone, and they're going to pass it from a jumbo cone down to the winding spool, from A to B at high speed. So it's going to pass along from here to here. And right in the middle, they have a gas burner with a flame. So this thread is passing over this way, and that flame is close enough to burn off the longest hairs. So as it goes in here, it just reduces your lint a lot. That is the expensive one, because if they make a mistake on that, they just Ruined the batch. The industry calls that gassing the thread. Doesn't that sound exotic? Who wants some gassed cotton? We don't put that on our label. But it is gassed. So if you see a cotton thread that is very low lint, it's probably been gassed. Now, here's what some other companies do. They call it silk finish. Well, I got an email just this week. Do you still have that silk wrapped cotton thread? No, it never was silk wrapped. But she heard silk finished. That's what she thought. No. Silk finish is a fancy word. It sounds really good. It's probably maybe gassed. Put a nice little finish on it. So our label is this long. It will say something like 100% Egyptian grown, extra long staple cotton. I leave off mercerized. We leave off gassed. No room for that. But it is the finest cotton in the world. Now, if you're making bed sheets or pillowcases or clothing or towels, it doesn't really matter. Because you can take a short staple cotton and put a nice weave on it and end up with a nice thick cloth, towel, whatever. Thread's different. We got a little fine strand that we want to go high speed through a machine, up and down and this way and all around at the same time. That's where it matters. So in the thread world, yes, it really matters. In the non-thread world, you're fine with the short or long staple cotton. Do you recommend cotton only for piecing? Well, this is what I've heard in the recent years since I've been back in the industry. People are now piecing with poly. And I'm surprised because they probably may have done that a few years ago, but nobody would dare talk about it because of that. Polyester will tear the fabric myth. Biggest myth in the quilting world. Here's proof. I thought, what things get a lot of wear and tear in life? A t-shirt. Boys fight in them, they struggle, they get dirty, they play football, they wrestle, we work in them, we paint in them, we wash them all the time. They get wear and tear to the extreme, more than any other article of clothing. And Hanes t-shirt says 100% cotton. So one day I was thinking, I wonder if they use cotton thread in their t-shirt. The label says 100% cotton. Can they use non-cotton thread? So I called them. And I said, hello, my name is Bob. I just want to know, what kind of thread do you use when you sew your t-shirts together? Why do you want to know? Well, I'm with the FBI. I talk about thread. I teach thread seminars. I love thread. I just want to know. And the person on the phone said, wait a minute, move me up to level 2 customer support. I felt really important. Same question. I just want to know what thread to use. Why do you want to know? Well, I teach thread seminars. I'm just curious. I think it's probably poly. And they said, we use polyester thread to sew our t-shirts together. So that was proof to me that a t-shirt that gets the most extreme wear and tear, multiple washings, dirty, filthy, just abuse. I have never seen a t-shirt come apart at the seam, or I've never seen a thread in the seam tear through the fabric. It doesn't happen. And it's not going to happen. It is perfectly fine if you like poly to piece with poly. The only caution is, if you try, you can melt polyester. Polyester melts at 482 degrees. So I have this friend I call Al. I think it's spelled AI, but it looks like Al when you see AI. So I talk to Al a lot. I asked Al, what temperatures do irons hit on high heat? And Al said, across the board, most brands of home irons go from a range of 430 to 460 degrees on high. Okay, 460. It melts at 482. So we got a lot of gap there. So it should not melt. But I've had people tell me, I have melted my thread with my iron. Okay, maybe the iron was middle-aged. Maybe your iron has a hot flash. We don't know. It is possible that the iron does put out a surge and can get higher. So I know that. Therefore, the caution is, if you piece with poly, because we iron our seams, put your iron down to medium heat. You can be just perfectly fine and safe. So I have no favor toward cotton. I have no favor toward poly. It's just, if it's a good thread, you can use it. Part 2 is polyester threads. Polyester is great because we can make polyester threads look like silk, or we can make polyester threads look like cotton. Melanie, will you hand this one out, please? This is going to be a really nice silky-like thread, but it's polyester. Strength-wise, much stronger than cotton. We're going to pass this down, just like if you're in the aisle, just grab it, give it to 2 or 3 friends. She's going to walk up and down. Don't break it. Just hand it to the first and unravel all the way down. Yeah, no, you can break it. No, yeah, just unwind it. Yeah, just unravel it all the way down the aisle, Melanie. Just go fast. So this is polyester thread. Traditionally, there's two types of poly. A spun poly looks like cotton. Anyone have a serger? The cheapest thread on the market is a spun poly, fuzzy, but really low price polyester thread. It's great for serging because sergers, you take 2 or 3 or 4. I think some sergers have 8 cones on them now. You overlock, they interlock all these threads. No problem for a lower end spun poly thread. If you're quilting with it, I'd go to a little stronger, thicker spun poly, or the higher grade of poly is not spun poly, so it's not pieces spun together like cotton. It is a multi-filament. It's these fine strands of spaghetti, ultra-thin spaghetti twisted together. So this one in your hand, you are touching 72 microstrands twisted together. How awesome is that? So hold that one up to the light. See how thin it is. But what you're seeing is 72 microstrands. So imagine how thin those spaghetti-like strands are if you can see those 72. What happened is, under a microscope, one day a scientist was looking at the silk, what the silkworm produces in the cocoon when they unwind it, so the strand of silk. Under a microphone, silk is not round. The silk fibers are triangular, 3-sided, like a Toblerone candy bar, side, side, side. And because they're flat, 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 that's why silk is so shiny. The light hits the silk fiber, and it reflects that light that gives it the sheen. So a scientist said, how can I do that in polyester? Because polyester is dull. So they did the same thing. When they made the microfibers, they put them through holes, not round holes, but through triangle, 3-sided holes. So these ultra-fine microfibers came out 3-sided under a microscope. Then we twist them together into a nice round thread, into 72 strands together, and under a microscope, it's the same thing, and guess what? Light hits it, it shines. That's why this is such a high sheen, beautiful poly thread. And it's about 1/20th the cost of silk. Any silk lovers here? Raise your hands high, look around. These are the rich ladies. Silk is fantastic. You can't go wrong with it. It's just expensive. That's the only problem with it. You can get the same look, if you like the same look, in a poly. You can have poly that looks like cotton. You can have it look like silk. So we love polyester threads. Some people piece with either. Some people piece with silk. As long as you have the fiber type that works for you, there are no rules. And if the quilt police jump on you, tell them, have them call me. I'll take care of it. How many use rayon threads? Rayon was really big in the 80s, into the 90s, and then it kind of went south because I think 1986, the Environmental Protection Agency or some in the U.S. kind of really put a damper on it and really discouraged rayon production in the U.S. because it's a horrible pollutant. So there's different types of rayon, but the type that makes thread is a horrible pollutant, so they don't come from the U.S. anymore. There's other countries that still make them, let them pollute the world, I guess, but rayon really isn't a good fiber. It's weak, it's not as strong, not as color fast, but it's really low cost. And it's on the way out, which is good. Because now they have polyester like this, that's a high sheen, that didn't use it. So if you have that one, if you got a sample, break it, look at it, taste it, it's a good thread. So we did silk, we did rayon. Oh, monofilament. Monofilament comes in nylon and it comes in polyester. Is one better than the other? So we take a vote. Who uses nylon monofilament? Who uses polyester monofilament? Nylon is a few more. Nylon's been around longer. Nylon's been around 40, 50, 60. As long as they've been fishing, they've had nylon monofilament. It's fishing line. Poly came about pretty big about 20 years ago. Here's the difference. Over time, nylon will yellow. We're talking maybe 10 years. Isn't that clear? It will yellow. Over a longer time, nylon can go brittle and break. Nylon also has a lower heat tolerance. So if you do steam your quilt or iron it, it has a lower heat tolerance. I prefer poly because it is not quite as strong, but we can make it slightly thicker and make it as strong. It doesn't yellow over time, and it doesn't go brittle. So a poly monofilament is the preferred. Yes? How long can you keep thread? Like my mom's thread. Okay, that's a great question. If I had grandma's thread on the shelf, it's probably going to be cotton. I'm going to break it. And when I break it, I'm not going to yank it like this, because anyone can do that. I'm going to pull it real gently until it breaks. Real gentle. And if I hear a snap, it's probably good. If it kind of separates, no, it's not good. It's good. So my bet is grandma's thread is still good. It's not going to be the quality it is today, but it's going to be good. The spools are really cool, too. Yeah. Polyester, how long? I don't know, a couple hundred years. It's plastic. If I had a spool of Egyptian-grown, extra long staple, gassed, mercerized cotton, I'm going to tell my great-great-great-great-grandkids to use it. It'll be good. Some people worry about, I don't want a poly thread in my quilt because it will disintegrate, or the cotton, the fabric will disintegrate faster than the poly. Well, after 200 or 300 years, who's going to care? I'd rather have at least something left. So, shelf life is good. Storage, you don't need it in a plastic container. You don't need it behind the glass. One lady keeps her metallic thread in a freezer. Really? No, we don't need to do that. We've had thread in dry climates for 20 or 30 years. We've had thread in humid climates 20 or 30 years. They are still good. The only thing is avoid direct sunlight. That will fade pretty much anything. And don't put it under a heat vent. So if you got your thread wall and you got a heat vent on top, you're going to get dust on it. That'll just end up in your machine. Other than that, no problem. It will last a long time. Okay. Now we go to step 2. We have solved 50% of your problems. Step 2 is really easy. It's the least expensive problem-solving tip. It has to do with the needle. 27 years I've been in the industry. I've talked to thousands of quilters, thousands of embroiderers, thousands of hobby crafters, thousands of award-winning, just all types. And I started early years asking them a question, what needle do you use? Long arms weren't really popular back then, so we're talking home machine. And I found out quilters do not use the quilting needle. Embroiderers were not using the embroidery needle. The crafters were not using the universal needle. So, well, what else is there? What are they using? Who knows? Top stitch. They use the top stitch. And this goes back 27 years they were using top stitch. Well, because that, it spread, and now top stitch is the kind of like preferred needle by those who quilt or sew a lot. And every company that makes needles makes the top stitch style. I am really convinced that the top stitch is the hybrid needle. They took the best features of all these needle types, put it into one, and if the whole world knew that, their sales would go down. Because you wouldn't buy 20 types of needles in 5 sizes each. You'd buy one needle in 5 sizes. Here is why the top stitch is so good. The groove that runs up the shaft of a needle, that's where the thread lies in as it goes into the needle, through the eye. It is deeper and wider, so if you have a finicky thread, or maybe a flat ribbon thread, or maybe a heavier thread, or maybe a super delicate thread, it lies in the shaft, and it goes in that groove, and it protects it better. That's minor, but it's big. The main point is the eye of a top stitch needle. It's hard to see there, but this eye, compared to a universal, or quilting, or embroidery needle, is at least twice as long. Enlarged needle. That's not good just only for our eyes that are aging. It's good because as thread runs through that needle at high speed, it will not be stressed by the needle. You will not be getting lint at your needle unless you have a really low quality linty thread. That is a game changer. The next feature that is really good on the top is the point. It is not a razor sharp. That is meant to cut whatever it goes through, like leather, vinyl. It is not ballpoint. That's meant for knit fabrics. This is what we call a light sharp. Slightly blunted, but still sharp. It is meant to separate the fibers before it goes through, not to cut. The point, the eye, and the groove make this the perfect needle. That's why for all these years, the embroiderers tell me this is what they use, the quilters tell me this is what they use, the crafters tell me this is what they use, and it is really, really nice. This will change immediately about 25% of your problems, that needle. We choose a needle size not based on the fabric, not based on the stitch, but on the thread size. Because a bigger thread will need a bigger needle. A finer thread, a smaller needle. That's really all that matters. It is better to go larger than too small. If you don't know, so to go a 70 or an 80, go 80. You can always go down, but don't go too small because it might not be what your thread needs. And it gets even better. Back about 20 or 30 years ago, industrial companies were using a long life industrial needle. They had a really hard coating on the needle because these factories around the world that made everything we're wearing today, their warehouse probably has 1,000 sewing machines. They're going around the clock in 3 work shifts. How often do we change our needle? What are we told? 8 hours. So imagine you got a factory with 1,000 machines, and every 8 hours, 3 times a day, they got to go in and change 1,000 needles. So they talked to the needle company and said, don't you have something better? And the needle companies developed one that with a really hard surface called titanium nitride. Now they're called titanium-coated needles. Titanium is an ultra-thin ceramic. It's like paint, but it is so hard, it reduced wear and tear, and they last up to 8 times as long as a standard needle. That's a laboratory test. The place you're going to get wear and tear is in the eye and about the first inch up to here. 8 times longer. So we went to the second largest needle manufacturer in the world called Oregon, like Oregon, Church Oregon. And we said, we would like you to make needles for us. They brought out the catalog. Okay, which of our 1,000 needle styles would you like? No, I don't want those. I don't even want quilting embroidery. I don't even want universal. I want top stitch. We don't make a top stitch needle. I said, would you? Here's the specs. So they did. And I said, I know that you make titanium-coated needles for your industrial needles. I want that on the home needle. And they said, no, I don't think anyone would buy those. And I said, our customers will. So they did. So they made titanium-coated top-stitch needles. And they're wonderful. No more 8 hours. Just put the alarm clock away. Put the timer away. One day you're going to be sewing and you're going to hear a clunk, 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 clunk. Okay, what's that? Oh, I haven't changed my needle for months. Well, time to change your needle. It will really last a long time. The good news is it'll cost you about 20 cents more for a titanium coated than a standard. Standard needles are silver. The cheaper ones are nickel. The good ones are chrome. Titanium, or the base, the needle is chrome coated with titanium coating on it. 20 cents more. And you will get 8 needles worth for that 20 cents. That is a no-brainer. That's not even a sales tactic. That's just the absolute truth on that one. Size-wise, based on the thread we use is the needle we use. And the 2 most popular by far, a fine weight is a 50 weight. A medium weight is a 40 weight. Those are the only 2 needle sizes. 50 weight, size 80/12 needle. This is in your back of the book, by the way. And then medium thread, 40 weight thread, size 90/14 needle. Those 2. There's bigger and smaller out there, titanium coated, but those are the 2 that most people need. You don't need all 4 in most cases. Now, as we talked about thread weight real briefly, why is it that the bigger the number, we go from a 30 weight, 40 weight, 50 weight, 60 weight, what's happening to the size of the thread? It's getting thinner. Why did they do that to us? Because a man's brain was the smallest size of a pea, and he did that. It is totally confusing. But there really is science behind it. This isn't perfect science, and this isn't an accurate, exact word for word how it is, but ballpark, this is how it works. I want to know how many miles of thread it takes to weigh a pound. So I get out a thread, and it took 50 miles. So now we get another thread, and this other thread, wow, this thread only took 30 miles to weigh a pound. Which one's heavier? The 30. That's where it came from. Other measures are a TEX, T-E-X. They are scientific, and they are accurate. Weight is an American made-up system. It is ballpark, and it's a range. That's why we don't have a 31 weight, or a 42 weight, or a 58 weight. They're ranges. 30, 40, 50, 60 are the main ones. They're ballpark. That's why you can have 3 brands of 50-weight thread side by side. They're all different, but that's okay. You can have 3 brands of a 40-weight thread. Way different. If you have a 40-weight poly next to a 40-weight cotton, they're going to be way different. So then it's not science, but just know it's ballpark range, and that's good enough for most of us. Okay, you're 75% perfect now. 50 on the quality and 25 on the needle. You ready for the next one? This next one is really another 25, but I can't say I do 100%. I got to leave a little gap in case your machine is out of whack. So we're going to go up to 98% correction here. So I'm going to say 23% on this next one. And it is the most important thing that I can teach you today. Forget everything else. If you do this next one, it's the final step in troubleshooting and correcting, and it is the biggest game changer you will ever have. It has to do with the tension. This goes back to the lady who walked in the room, put her hand up and said, no, don't talk to me about tension because I won't do that. How many were taught in the earlier days, don't touch your tension? Oh, these new machines now have automatic tension. How many were taught by your dealer? Automatic tension. You don't have to worry about tension. Okay. Does anyone know what automatic tension does on your machine? Most people don't. I really don't. But what I hear it does is if you engage a decorative stitch or maybe a little more difficult stitch, maybe a satin stitch, or if you engage the embroidery unit, it lowers the tension a bit because it knows that thread is going faster or in multi-directions. I think that's what it does. But does your machine know if it's a fine or medium or heavy thread? Not a clue. Does it know if it's a metallic or cotton or poly? Not a clue. So don't rely on your automatic tension. I need a volunteer. It pays really well. I really do. Okay, come up. Will you come up the stairs here, please? We're going to demonstrate how your machine, oh, you need two hands, so I'm going to have a brace. Okay, good. How your machine tension works. Most machines out of the box, here, hold my variegated thread for a minute. Most machines out of the box are preset between a 0 and a 9 or a 10. They're set out of 5. A reason for that, your machines are sewing machines. They're made for the world. The world sews, we quilt. But it's a world made for the world machine. So it comes out of the box out of 5. 5 is perfect if you're sewing clothing. Guess what you use when you sew clothing? 50 weight. Guess what type of thread? Poly. So machines are pretty much factory preset to sew a 50 weight poly. If you are sewing with anything else, you need to adjust the tension. We have dozens of different types of threads. Fine, medium, heavy, in different fibers. The most common setting that we set on our machines when we're using our threads is about a 3.5 to a 4. We lower it down. If you don't lower it down, here's what happens. This is your tension disc. And 0 is no tension, 10 is really tight tension, 5 is going to be nice and snug. So she has, what's your name?
Marianne.
Marianne, I should have known that, thank you. This is a 50 weight poly. So Marianne is so up and down this way through the tension disc, and watch what happens. Oh, look at the stitch. It's not breaking, not fraying, not shredding. Look at the speed. You're good. Thank you. Now we're going to put a 40 weight medium thread in here. So double that one up.
Okay.
Does the machine know what we just did? No. Automatic tension, it doesn't have a brain. It doesn't know what to do. But now we put a 40 weight, not quite double the diameter, but a bit heavier. Now watch what happens. You broke the thread, you hurt your hand, you're really mad, and who do you call? Who do you blame?
Our husbands.
You blame me. I get your emails.
You and our husbands.
Yeah, I get the blame. So I told you it pays really well. After the event here, after the seminar, go into the hall, go to your favorite long arm company, say, I'm here to get my free machine. And tell them,
Bob sent
no, Jack sent me.
Okay. Do you have your credit card?
Jack sent me. No, they got it covered. Go choose a machine you like. If you will adjust your tension, that's the last step to open up the whole windows of success. Remember in the beginning, I said we're going to talk about metallic thread? And I said you go home tonight and sew on a metallic thread? You can. But as far as I know, there's only 3 brands of metallic thread in the world that are really, really what I would say acceptable. Want to know? One is called Yen Met. Nobody's heard of it. It's not over here. It's in Japan. One is called Superior. Boy, I wonder who made that one. It's a good one. And one is called YLI. You'll love it. They all come from Japan. Because Japan has these beautiful kimonos that are heavily embroidered with metallic thread. They love it. So guess what? They make the best metallic thread. So if you have a good quality metallic thread, the next step is your needle. Use a top stitch size 90. A lot of metallic needles on the market. Okay, if you have a metallic needle, that's okay. Time out. Here's another secret. Under a microscope, the Schmetz metallic and the Schmetz top stitch really look identical. I emailed them. I emailed headquarters in Europe and headquarters in Asia. I said, are your top stitch and your metallic needles the same needle? One wrote back, yes, they are, identical. They put them in 2 packs. Why would they do that to us? Because you buy them. Yep. So if you have metallic needles at home, get out a marker and write top stitch. They're not titanium coated, but they're still good. Top stitch. Size 80 is for piecing. It is not for metallic. Unfortunately, most stores sell size 80 metallic for metallic thread because they don't know. You need a 90. So get a good metallic thread, get your 90 top stitch needle, and here's what you do to your tension. We're not going to put it on a 5. We're going to go down to a 1. Wide open. And I guarantee it's going to work. And you're going to be singing and dancing, so happy it works. What happens if your top tension is too loose? Loops on the back, right? Okay, if that happens to you, go up to a 1.5. Go up to a 2. Maybe your machine's sweet spot is a 2. Maybe your machine's sweet spot is a 1.5. But I guarantee on a metallic thread, it will work with the right needle and the right tension. Now, if you can do that with metallic, you can do it with monofilament. Monofilament's a strange one because it's so fine, you would think tighter tension is what it needs. Well, it is so delicate, if you put too much tension on it, it's going to break it. So actually, we need to ease up on that one too. Oh, maybe a 4, maybe a 3.5, whatever works on your machine. You should be able to run any good thread in your machine. I get really frustrated when I get emails saying, my dealer told me I can only run poly in this thread, in this machine. Another person says, my dealer said I can only run cotton in this thread. One says I can only use a 90-weight brand J in this thread. Well, guess what they sell? If somebody told you, and you bought a $29,000 top-end machine, that you must use brand or type X thread, I would walk away before I charge that card. Because who would buy a car if the car salesman said, oh, by the way, the warranty is void if you don't use Shell gasoline? How crazy is that? But on machines, oh, okay, you say I have to use that thread, I'll use that thread. No, you can use any good quality thread. And choose the fiber type you like. Choose the thickness you like. Usually the finer thread we want to blend. The medium and heavy we want to show. A lot of people say, I'm really not good enough yet on my long arm to free motion, and I really don't want the thread to show. Then choose a blending color. Others say, hey, I'm getting to the point where I'm confident. I want to show off the thread as well as the quilting. Then they go medium or heavy or variegated. I'm going to show you one variegated thread. Melanie, will you hand this one out? This is what I call a game changer for those who come to me and say, you know what, just give me one thread. But don't break it, just pass it, because that was too hard to break. I just want one thread that I can run all the time, and I'll tell my customers, this is the thread I use, choose your color, but I'm not going to switch from thread A, B, C, D, and I just want to run it, and I don't want any problems. Well, this is it. This is it in variegated. It's coming in solid. But what we did, we went to our factory and said, we have a lot of customers who are quilting, a lot are long arms, and they want a thread that doesn't break. So I want your extra strong tensile strength fibers. And I want it in a filament polyester. And I want it in the 72 microstrands twisted together. And this is what we have. So if you have that, do you have a big enough piece to break? Try to break it. But I'm warning you, don't cut your hands. Break it. Who can break it? Did anyone break it? This color is probably on the spool. But this is, the line of this thread is called variations because it's all variegated. And we like it because, hey, this is the thread that is never going to break in my machine. If this breaks in your machine, it's not the thread. It's something to do in the machine. So it is so popular among those who want to run a thread and have no trouble, but they don't want to have, they don't want variegated all the time. So it's coming in solids in about 2 months. I haven't decided the name on it. They're making the thread for us. I just haven't decided. I want a name that means, help me please, I want a name that means fast and strong. Hercules. I thought of that one. That's good. It needs a name like that because that's this thread that just will not break. So the next question is, yeah, but can you get a thread too strong for quilting? So guess who I asked? Al, AI. And Al said, oh, yeah, if your thread is too strong and it starts to really, the fabric starts to get wear and tear and stretch here and there, yeah, it might tear through. And I said, Al, really? And Al says, oh, I guess not. I questioned Al. I've had Al apologize twice in the last week for giving me false info. So I used to think Al was the authority. No. If you are using an upholstery weight thread rope in your cotton fabric, yeah, okay. That's not wise. That could tear through. But if it's a sewing weight thread, a 40 weight that is super strong fiber type, no, it's not going to tear through. If it starts to tear, either you got a really flimsy fabric or, hey, it's not going to tear through. So that's why we like this one. This is like the problem-free Hercules, whatever it is. It's a good thread. Other questions we get often are pre-wound bobbins. In the early days, people were afraid of pre-wound bobbins. Well, now we're all used to them. Every machine company makes pre-wound bobbins. The convenience is a pre-wound bobbin is professionally wound, and you can get about 50% more wind, more yardage on a pre-wound. So there's two ways of thinking. One is, how lazy can you get? The other is, I never want to wind another bobbin as long as I live. And either of those are okay. If you like it, pre-wounds are fantastic. But again, don't buy them on Alibaba or Temu, where you're going to get a super flimsy thread. Make sure you're choosing the thread on the pre-wound, not the other way around.
I've heard that if you're going to use the monofilament
Yes.
thread, you should use a pre-wound if you want to use it with your bobbin.
Okay, so if you want to use monofilament thread in the bobbin, you should get a pre-wound monofilament. The reason why is because winding your monofilament is a headache. If you can figure out how to wind it, you're okay. And with monofilament, you can use it on top. If you want it to hide on top because you've got a really busy fabric on top, or if you want to use it in the back because you've got a busy back, but don't use monofilament together. It's such a slick thread, it won't form a good knot. It just kind of doesn't grab each other. So top is good or bottom is good, but monofilament, no, not at the same time. So mix it with another fiber.
I've been looking at your thread mastery guide here, and I'm also a bag maker. And what thread would you recommend for bags? I've always been taught that you use polyester only on bags.
Okay, bag maker. Who's the biggest bag maker? Well, I should make Annie, right? Annie. Okay, byannie.com. She's probably the most famous bag designer, bag maker. You know where Annie lives? She lives 2 miles from my house. We're like this. So Annie told me now, for her bag making, she needs a thread that is not too fine, not too thick, not too slick, not too rough, not too linty, all this. Well, it's called perfection. And if you were to call Annie and say, Annie, what thread do you recommend for any of your bags? She will say, YLI Perfection. It is this one. It was made and developed in Japan for the high-end clothing industry. So probably if you're wearing Armani or Gucci, I don't know, that's the only brands I know. Rolex, that's not clothing. If you're wearing high-end clothing, chances are it's this thread. It's poly. It's multi-filament poly, but it's not smooth. They put a slight texture into it, but it doesn't throw off lint because it's multi-filament. It's not linty. It's not spun. Puts a slight texture into it, so as it goes into fabric, it grabs it. That's what they want in clothing. Well, that's what we want in quilting. So this is those who are piecing with poly. That's it. I call it the Goldilocks of thread. It's perfect. It's perfection. It's perfect for clothing, construction, bag making, top thread, bobbin thread, dental floss, you name it. That's the thread to go to. And it really is perfect. And it blends. All the 64 colors of perfection are all kind of blending tones. If you quilt with that, it's going to blend into the top. Binding is great for binding. Bobbin, this is, I think, in the long arm world, probably the favorite. It's a really good thread. We have color cards that are made for each thread line, and they're swatches, so they wind swatches of color of thread, so they're not printed color like it's a perfect match. And they cost a bit. We sell them at our cost of only $5. But they're all wound. So you get a color card that has all 50 or 80 colors or whatever on it. And you get the actual thread there, so it's a perfect color match. Those are pretty smart.
What needle and thread would you recommend for sewing with batiks?
Sewing with batiks. Okay, my wife made a quilt 2 quilts a month, forever and ever and ever. And her favorite fabric was batik. She always used a top stitch. She would, like, you're talking piecing it together, she'd use a top stitch, 80. She used a cotton thread. Our cotton thread is called Dream Seam. That's the extra long staple Egyptian grown gas mercerized cotton thread. Dream Seam, and she loved that. Now, if you're quilting on it, then it depends. Do you want your thread to shine? Do you want your thread to blend? Do you want it to be... So you can quilt with anything as you're doing the quilting, but for piecing, my wife's favorite was Dream Seam on batiks. She loves batiks. Yes?
I've never known what to do with the screw on the bobbin in terms of tension, so I've left it alone for 50 years.
Oh, good for you. Okay. We talk top tension. Very rarely do we talk bobbin tension in the machine. And in fact, there's only like 2 cases in 35 or about 20, 25, 27 years I've been doing this where it was the bobbin. Want to hear a good story? Okay, you know Alex Anderson? Okay, we talked thread over the years, and she calls me her thread guy. So I get a call one day, says, Bob, I'm in a class. I got all these new Bernina machines, great machines. Your thread is breaking. And it was our bobbin thread. And I said, well, if it breaks in the bobbin, it sounds like your bobbin tension's too tight. This is really rare, Alex, but I need you to loosen the bobbin tension. She says, oh, no, I've never done that before. I said, Alex, trust me. Get out your screwdriver and get out that screw, and I only want you to turn it a quarter turn. She says, my hands are shaking. Are you sure I can do this? I mean, this is the pro of quilters, right? And I said, yes, I'm listening, and I'm waiting, go. So she did it, put it back in, and it worked. It worked itself tight, or it came out of the factory tight. Rare, but yes, it does occur sometimes.
I'm going back to bag making, and you made a statement right before that about when you have monofilament, don't use both the top thread and in the bobbin. So if I'm bag making and I have it in the top, what do you recommend in the bobbin?
For bag making, I recommend either Perfection or go to a 60-weight. So a 60-weight poly or a 50-weight poly. I'm making this up as I go, by the way. Just don't come back next year and I say something different. Other questions? Can you mix your fibers on top? Poly in the top, cotton in the bobbin? Absolutely, yes. Reverse it, yes. Metallic on top, poly in the bobbin? Yes. No rules. All the rules that you hear by the Quilt Guild police, just throw them out the window. Use what works for you. Okay, now, we have an award for you. I lived in Japan for 9 years. I had all my kids do karate. That was part of the family rule. You will do karate, and you can't quit until you have your black belt plus 1 year. Then you can quit if you want. Well, you have earned a black belt in thread today. Okay, Melanie. You get a black belt. Wear it with pride. If your children or grandchildren or your husbands acting up, put on your black belt. And you can tell them that you are now the thread master. You have a black belt in thread. You know thread. You are the Thread Mastery Institute graduate. And wear it with pride. Go show it off at the quilt show. You walk down the aisle, they'll part the path as you walk down the aisle. Thank you for being here today.
Proceeds from the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show support PBS Wisconsin programming. Your financial gift helps make this event possible. Thank you.